Hey, hello, how are you doing? Today we are going to talk about the variables. The variable is like a virtual container which can hold some information of the specific type. So you can imagine this is a box which has a label, which has a name, and we can put inside some information. And whenever we call this box name, we will get whatever is inside. This is very helpful because whenever we need to, we can change whatever is inside, and whenever we call it, we will get actual value. So let's see how are we going to create such a variable. I will create the first variable here inside the class, and let's say we need to get age of somebody. So we know that the age will be the whole number because we usually say that somebody is 12 years old, 25 years old, and so on. So that would indicate that we need an integer data type. So I will type the data type first. We need to specify it. And now we need to create a label, a name of this variable, and this is age. So let's just type age. And now we have two choices. We can finish like that, so we can only declare this variable to say it and show it to compiler so he's aware that somewhere later on we might use it, or we can straight away assign some value to it, let's say 20. And as you can see, this equal sign is assignment operation in programming languages. So we assign a value of 20 to the variable age. So now whenever we want to use this variable, we can just call it by its name. So let's say we want to display this value in the console, so we can use debug.log, and inside the parentheses we will type the name of our container, the name of the variable, which is age. So now in the console we would see the value 20. Why is it so valuable and why we are going to use variables all across our projects? Because anytime we can change it and we'll get the actual value. So if we now decide to change our age, we can just type its name and assign a new value, let's say 21. So now in the console we would see the value 21. Remember that the code is executed from the top to the bottom. So first we initialize this variable with the value. Then inside the start function, we will change its value to 21, and then we will display it in the console. But remember that we can create our variable directly inside the class, but if we want to change its value or call it somewhere, we need to do that inside of some method or function. We can't just go beneath and say debug.log. It wouldn't work. It can't be like that, okay? Or we can't say that age equals 21 now. It doesn't work. We cannot do that inside the class. We need to go deeper. We need to do this kind of stuff inside special methods, okay? This is how it's going to work. We can only declare those variables here inside the class, and it's really handy because then we can access them within other methods, but we cannot change it. So now let's say that we want to display our name in the console. How can we do that? We know that the name is a string value, this is text, so we need to provide the data type for our variable, which is string. And let's call our variable my name. When we create names for the variables, we usually use a camel case notation, which says that the first letter of our variable should be with the small letter, and then next word, if we need to use many words in our name, then we will start them with the capital letter. So it's very similar to the Pascal case. The only difference is that the first letter is a small letter. So this is how we are going to do that. Maybe I will do this in this way, that I will declare our variable first, and then inside the start method, I will assign some value to it. So we'll use the name, my name, equals, and let's add quotation mark and use maths. Now we need a semicolon at the end. So we just assign some value to our variable. And if we want to display it in the console, I will use debug.log and my name. As you can see, Visual Studio is very handy and it predicts what we want to type. So whenever you can see that it gives us some preposition, you can just type tab and it will autofill. So you can read our code to know what is going on. At the beginning, we are declaring and initializing our variable with the value 20. At the same time, we are declaring another variable of type string. Then inside the start method, we are changing the value of this variable and we are displaying it in the console. Then we are assigning some value to the second variable and we are displaying that in the console as well. So remember, whenever you want, you can change this value. And this is why we need to use it, because normally within the game, there is many occasions where we want to change the value of the variable and use it at some point in our code. There is one more thing I want to point out straight away, because as you can see, we declared our two variables here inside the class and they have a global scope, but at the same time we can create our variable inside the function, inside the method like start or update. And if I type, let's say integer, and it will be a counter equals, let's say 0, it means that if we create some variable inside of the function, it has a local scope. It means that this lives and is accessible only inside of this function. If we want to change this value from the other place in our code, for example here, I cannot do that. Look that when I start typing counter, I don't get this proposition. If I can't see this on my list, it means that it's not accessible for me and I cannot use it like that. So this counter variable is only visible and can be used only in this block of code. If I want it to be accessible in my whole script, then I shouldn't create it in here in the update, but I should have created it, let's say, in this place, straight into the class. Then I could just type counter and this is visible on my list and I can use it and change its value if I wanted to. So this is something you should remember, that we can create our variables in two ways. If we create them here directly in the class, they will have a global scope and they will be accessible throughout the whole script. And we can create a local variables inside the function or method, and it will live only within this block of code and it won't be accessible from outside of it. Which one is better? Whenever we can use a local variable, we should do that. But if we need to have it accessible in the whole script, then it's okay and totally fine to create them like that. And remember, this is really important, your variables should be named properly. They should be descriptive. You cannot use names like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. No, don't do that. Just be descriptive. So whenever you look at this variable name, you know straight away what can be inside of this variable. This is very crucial because later on when you get back to the project or you have some other friends who will cooperate with you, they will have a really hard time to read that code. And we need to focus on that to have this naming properly done.